The grand halls of the Drakari Palace were alive with excitement. Banners of red and gold waved in the warm air. At the center of it all stood the battle Empress, tall and strong, her eyes sharp as blades. Every few years, the Empress would choose a mate, and this season was different from any before. This was the Empress's mating season, a tradition of trials, where only the most worthy could win her heart. Among the many warriors who gathered from distant stars, there was one who did not fit in. His name was Daniel, and he was the only human in the palace. Daniel was not as tall as the Drakari, nor did he have their scales or claws. He had arrived on Drakkar Prime as part of a diplomatic team, but now he stood alone, feeling like a lost star in the night sky. Daniel had once been close to someone important, his friend and mentor, Captain Helena, who had left Drakkar Prime. Months ago, he missed her deeply. She had always encouraged him to be brave, to show that humans could stand tall among giants. But now, Daniel felt distant from everyone, especially Helena. Messages from her grew less frequent, and Daniel wondered if she had forgotten him. He watched the other warriors prepare for the Empress's challenge. Their confidence made him feel even smaller. He knew he should not even try. He was just a human, and the Drakari were bred for battle and greatness. But something inside him, maybe hope, maybe stubbornness, kept him there. Helena would have told him to try, even if the odds were impossible. As Daniel wandered the palace gardens that evening, memories of Helena filled his mind. He remembered the way she used to laugh during quiet nights on the starship, or how she would tell him stories of Earth to keep his spirits up. He missed those times, and he missed the feeling of belonging. Now, he felt like he had drifted too far, lost in the cold space between stars. Daniel wanted to reconnect, but he didn't know how. He had written messages, but deleted them before sending. He had thought of calling, but worried she would be too busy, or worse, wouldn't answer at all. He felt stuck, the distance between them as wide as the galaxy itself. The next morning, the Empress announced the first trial, the Gauntlet. It was a course filled with obstacles, puzzles, and tests of courage. The warriors gathered at the starting line, their armor shining. Daniel almost turned away, but a voice inside reminded him, humans don't give up, not when it matters. He stepped forward, joining the others. The Drakari looked at him with surprise, and even a little amusement. One of them, a massive warrior named Korath, sneered. You think a human can keep up? This is no place for you. Daniel shrugged. Maybe not, but I'm here anyway. The gauntlet began. Warriors ran, leaped, and fought their way through the challenges. Daniel was slower, but he was clever. Where others charged at obstacles, Daniel paused and thought. He used his small size to slip through tight spaces. At one point, he found a Drakari trapped under a fallen beam. Others ran past, but Daniel stopped to help. With effort, he freed the warrior, who looked at him in surprise. Why did you help me? The Drakari asked. Daniel just smiled, because that's what friends do. The Empress watched from above, her eyes following Daniel. She was used to strength and power, but she saw something different in the human, a quiet determination and kindness. It made her curious. As the gauntlet ended, Daniel crossed the finish line, breathing hard but smiling. He hadn't finished first, but he had finished. Some Drakari cheered, impressed by his heart, if not his speed. That night, Daniel sat alone. In his room, his muscles aching. He thought again of Helena, wishing she could see him now. He wondered if she would be proud. He opened his communicator, and for the first time in weeks, wrote a message he didn't delete. Hey Helena, I'm still here on Drakkar Prime. Today, I did something I never thought I could. I entered the Empress's challenge. I'm scared, and I miss you, but I'm not giving up. I hope you're out there, rooting for me. Daniel, he sent it before he could change his mind. It was a small thing, but it made him feel less alone. The next day, as Daniel walked through the palace, something unexpected happened. The Drakari he had helped in the gauntlet nodded at him in respect. Others smiled or greeted him. Slowly, Daniel felt the distance between himself and the others begin to shrink. He was still different, still human, but maybe that was not a bad thing. As the Empress prepared for the next trial, she sent a message to all the contestants. The true test is not just strength, but heart. Prove you have both. Daniel read the message and smiled. For the first time since Helena left, he felt hope. Maybe he could survive the Empress's passion, not by being the strongest, but by being himself. Maybe, just maybe, he could prove that sometimes humanity's greatest strength is the courage to care even across the stars. And as the palace lights glittered in the night, Daniel looked up at the stars, thinking of Helena, and whispered, I'm still here. I'm still trying. This was only the beginning, but Daniel was ready for whatever came next. After all, he was the only human to enter the Battle Empress's mating season, and he was determined to survive her passion. No matter how distant or impossible it seemed, Daniel woke early. The palace was quiet, but the air was filled with the sense of waiting. Today, the Empress's first test would begin. Daniel felt nervous. He knew he was different from the other contestants. Most of them were Drakari tall, strong and proud. Daniel was just a human, and sometimes he felt small, especially now that Helena was gone. He stared at his communicator, hoping for a reply to the message he had sent her the night before. There was nothing. He tried not to feel hurt. Maybe she was just busy. Maybe she would reply later. But the silence made the distance between them feel even bigger. Daniel missed Helena a lot. She had always been there for him, even when he doubted himself. Now, surrounded by strangers in a strange place, he wished she was here to give him advice or just a kind word. He wondered if she missed him too, or if she had already moved on with her new life. He put the communicator away and tried to focus on the day ahead. The Drakari warriors gathered in the great hall, waiting for the Empress's speech. Daniel stood at the back, feeling alone. As he watched the others talk and laugh, he felt like he was on the outside looking in. The Empress entered, her armor shining, her presence commanding attention. She looked over the crowd, her eyes lingering on Daniel for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice echoing through the hall. Today, you face the gauntlet. It is a test of strength, courage, and cleverness. Only those who finish will move on. Remember, true greatness comes not just from power, but from the heart. Daniel took a deep breath. He remembered Helena's words. Sometimes being human is your greatest strength. He wanted to believe that was true. The contestants moved to the starting line. Daniel's heart beat fast. The gauntlet stretched before them, a maze filled with high walls, moving platforms, and tricky puzzles. Some obstacles needed muscle, others needed quick thinking. The signal sounded, and everyone rushed forward. Daniel started slow, watching how the others moved. The Drakari smashed through barriers with ease, but Daniel knew he couldn't match their strength. Instead, he looked for another way. He found a narrow gap and squeezed through, avoiding the main crowd. As he moved, Daniel saw a Drakari warrior, Korath, stuck in a pit. Others ran past, not stopping. Daniel remembered how Korath had laughed at him before, but he couldn't just leave him. Daniel searched for something to help and spotted a long branch nearby. He reached down and offered it to Korath. Grab on, Daniel said. Korath hesitated, surprised. Then he took the branch, and with Daniel's help, he climbed out of the pit. Korath stared at Daniel, confused but grateful. Why help me? He asked. Daniel shrugged. It's just what I do. They ran together for a while, helping each other through tricky parts. Daniel realized he didn't feel so alone anymore. Maybe he was starting to fit in, just a little. The gauntlet grew harder. There were walls too high for Daniel to climb. Korath gave him a boost, lifting him up. Later, Daniel solved a puzzle that had the others stuck. They made a good team. As Daniel neared the end, he felt tired but proud. He had made it this far, not by being the strongest, but by thinking differently and helping others. He wondered what Helena would say if she saw him now. Maybe she would be proud, too. He crossed the finish line with Korath. The other Drakari looked at him with new respect. Some clapped him on the back. Daniel felt a little less out of place. That night, Daniel sat in his room, looking at the stars. He still missed Helena, but he didn't feel quite so lonely. He took out his communicator and started to write again. "Hi, Helena, today I finished the gauntlet. I didn't win, but I made it, and I helped someone along the way. I'm still the only human here, and it's hard, but I'm not giving up. I hope you're okay. I hope you remember me, even though we're so far apart. Daniel." He sent the message, hoping she would read it. He didn't know if she would reply, but it felt good to reach out. Later, there was a quiet knock at his door. It was Korath. "You helped me today?" Korath said. "I want to return the favor. If you need anything, I will help you." Daniel smiled. For the first time, he felt like maybe he belonged. Maybe humans could survive here, even in the Empress's world. He went to bed that night feeling hopeful. The distance between him and Helena still hurt, but he knew he was not alone. He had new friends, and he was doing things he never thought possible. As he drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Daniel woke before sunrise. The palace was silent except for the distant sounds of guards changing shifts. He stared at the ceiling, feeling the ache in his muscles and an even deeper ache in his heart. He missed Helena more than ever. Lately, he kept checking his communicator, hoping for a reply to his messages, but there was still nothing. Every time he heard footsteps in the hall, he wished it would be her voice calling his name. But Helena was far away, and Daniel didn't know if he would ever see her again. He tried to focus on the day ahead. Today was the second trial, the Dance of Blades. The Empress had announced it would be a test of skill and respect, not a battle. To hurt or defeat. Daniel wasn't much of a fighter, but he remembered how Helena once taught him some basic moves for self-defense. "You don't have to be the strongest," she had said. "Just be smart and trust yourself." As he made his way to the training hall, Daniel felt out of place. The Drakari warriors were busy sharpening their swords and practicing with each other. Their movements were graceful but powerful, like a deadly dance. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. What if he made a fool of himself? What if the Empress regretted letting a human into her challenge? Korath, the Drakari warrior Daniel had helped in the gauntlet, spotted him and waved. "Ready for the next test, human?" Daniel forced a smile. "I'll try my best." Korath nodded. "That's all anyone can do." The Empress entered dressed in ceremonial armor. She looked at each contestant, her eyes lingering on Daniel. "Today you will duel," she announced. "Show me your skill, but above all, your honor." The matches began. Daniel watched as warriors spun and clashed, their blades flashing under the lights. When his turn came, Daniel faced a Drakari named Cerise, who was almost twice his size. Cerise bowed politely before raising her blade. Daniel's hands trembled as he picked up a wooden practice sword. He remembered Helena's lessons. Focus on your opponent. Watch their eyes. Move lightly. Cerise came at him quickly, but Daniel sidestepped, letting her blade swing past. He blocked another strike, then spun away, keeping his distance. The duel lasted only a few minutes, but it felt much longer. Daniel used his speed and quick thinking to avoid Cerise's powerful blows. At one point, he tripped and almost fell, but he turned it into a roll and came back up, surprising everyone, including himself. The crowd laughed, not unkindly, and even Cerise grinned. Daniel realized he was having fun. He remembered the games. He used to play with Helena, and for a brief moment, he felt close to her again. Finally, Cerise lowered her sword and bowed. "You fight with heart, little human." Daniel bowed back, breathing hard but smiling. The Empress watched from her throne, a small smile on her face. She seemed pleased by Daniel's effort. As the duels ended, the warriors gathered to share stories. Some told tales of great battles. Others joked about their mistakes. Daniel listened quietly, feeling distant from their experiences. When it was his turn, he spoke softly about Earth, about small joys like hot chocolate on a cold day or watching the stars with a friend. The Drakari listened, curious. Daniel realized that even though he felt far from home, sharing his memories made him feel less alone. Maybe Helena would feel the same if she heard his story. Later, Daniel sat outside, watching the sun set behind the palace towers. He felt a mix of pride and sadness. He had survived another trial, but the ache for Helena was still there. He thought about sending another message. But what could he say that he hadn't said before? Koreth joined him, sitting quietly for a core. While before speaking, "You miss someone," he said gently. Daniel nodded. "My friend. She left a while ago. I keep sending her messages, but she doesn't answer. Sometimes I wonder if she even remembers me." Koreth shrugged. "Sometimes those we care about are silent, not because they forget, but because they are busy with their own battles. Doesn't mean they don't care." Daniel smiled faintly. "I hope you're right." He looked up at the stars, thinking about Helena. He realized that even if she never replied, he wanted her to know he hadn't given up. He wanted to prove that humans could survive anything, even loneliness. With new hope, Daniel took out his communicator and wrote, "Hi Helena, today. I dueled a Drakari and didn't lose. I remembered the lessons you taught me, and it helped. I hope you're okay, wherever you are. I'm still trying. I hope you are too." Daniel. He sent the message feeling a little lighter. Maybe Helena would read it. Maybe not. But he was still reaching out, still hoping. The palace was quiet as Daniel walked back to his room. He passed the Empress, who nodded at him. For the first time, Daniel felt like he belonged here, even if just a little. He went to sleep dreaming of Earth, of Helena, and of new friends made across the stars. Tomorrow would be another trial, another chance to show what it meant to be human, and Daniel was ready. No matter how far apart he and Helena were, he would keep trying. That was the human way, and the beginning of surviving the battle Empresses. Passion. The day after the Dance of Blades, Daniel woke with sore arms. He had survived another Drakari trial, but he still felt like something was missing. No message had come from Helena. Every night he checked his communicator, hoping for even a simple hello, but there was still nothing. The distance between them seemed to grow wider with each passing day. Daniel tried to stay strong. He wanted to focus on the next part of the Empress's challenge, but it was hard. He watched the Drakari around him, how they laughed together, how they shared stories of family and home. Daniel felt like he was on the outside, looking in. He missed Helena more than he wanted to admit. That evening, the Empress called for a gathering in the palace garden. There was a giant fire in the middle, and cushions set out in a circle. All the remaining contestants were invited. The Empress stood near the flames, her armor shining in the firelight. "Tonight," she said, "we share stories. Not of war, but of what makes us strong. Our true memories and dreams." The Drakari took turns telling stories. Some spoke of their victories in battle. Others told funny tales from their childhoods. The fire crackled as each story ended, and everyone clapped or roared with laughter. When Daniel's turn came, he felt nervous. He wasn't sure what to say. What could a human story offer these mighty warriors? For a moment, he thought of Helena and all the quiet talks they used to have under the stars. He wished she was here to give him courage. He took a deep breath and started, "On Earth, we have many stories, but the ones that mean the most to me are the small ones, the ones about hope and friendship, even when things are hard." He told them about growing up on Earth, about cold winter nights when his mother made hot chocolate, and how he and his friends would build snowmen and laugh until their cheeks were red. He told them about his first time looking at the stars through a telescope, and how Helena was always there to encourage him, help him learn, and remind him that even small acts of kindness mattered. As Daniel spoke, the Drakari listened quietly. For the first time, he felt like they saw him not just as a competitor, but as a person with his own hopes and dreams. He talked about missing Helena, and how sometimes the hardest thing was not knowing how to reconnect with someone you care. "I don't know if she thinks of me," Daniel admitted, "but I keep sending messages, hoping that one day she'll answer. Because I believe that even if we're far apart, friendship and hope can reach across any distance." When he finished, the fire was quiet for a moment. Then the Empress herself spoke. "The courage to hope, even when you feel alone, is a strength greater than any sword. Your story honors you, Daniel of Earth." Daniel felt warmth in his chest. For the first time since Helena left, he didn't feel so alone. After the stories, Daniel sat by the fire, watching the flames and the stars above. Korath sat next to him. "You have heart, human," Korath said softly. "We all miss someone. But you remind us not to give up," Daniel smiled. "Thanks. Sometimes I wonder if I'm foolish for hoping." "Not foolish," Korath said. "Brave." When the fire burned low, Daniel walked alone through the garden. He looked up at the sky, thinking about Helena. He pulled out his communicator and typed again. "Hi, Helena. Tonight I told your favorite story about the stars to a group of Drakari warriors. I wish you could have seen it. I hope you're happy wherever you are. I miss you, but I'll keep hoping. Daniel." He sent the message feeling a little lighter. He did not know if Helena would ever answer, but he was proud of himself for not giving up. As he walked back to his room, Daniel realized something important. Even though Helena was far away, she was still part of him. Her kindness, her courage, and her friendship had helped shape who he was. That was something no distance could ever take away. The next morning, Daniel felt different. The loneliness was still there, but it wasn't as heavy. Sharing his story had helped. He saw that others carried their own sadness and hope too. Maybe being human wasn't about being the strongest warrior. Maybe it was about holding on to hope. Even when it hurt. The Empress announced that the next trial would be even harder, but Daniel was ready. He had learned that the heart could survive anything, even being far from someone you loved. As the palace came to life with the sound of preparations, Daniel looked out over the gardens and whispered, "I'm still here, Helena. I'm still trying, and I'm not alone." In the heart of the Drakari Empire, a single human's hope burned as bright as any star, lighting the way for others. A heavy storm gathered over the Drakari palace. Lightning crackled in the sky, and thunder rolled across the city. Inside the great halls, Daniel felt the mood shift. This was not just any storm. The elders said that, when the Empress's mating season reached its height, wild storms would sweep through the land, bringing chaos and powerful emotions. The storm outside matched the storm inside Daniel's heart. He missed Helena more than ever. The night before, he had shared stories by the fire, surrounded by new friends, but the old ache was still there. He wondered if Helena ever thought about him. He wondered if his messages even reached her, or if they were lost in the space between. Stars. The Empress had announced the next trial, a test of spirit. "Tonight, you will face your greatest fears and desires," she said. "Only those who are true to themselves will endure." Daniel tried to sleep, but the thunder kept him awake. He remembered the nights on the starship, when he and Helena would talk quietly in the dark, sharing secrets and dreams. He wished she was here now. He wished he could tell her how lonely he felt, how hard it was to keep hoping God. As the storm raged, Daniel wandered the empty halls. He passed other warriors, each lost in their own thoughts. Some tried to act brave, but Daniel could see the worry on their faces. The Drakari were strong, but even they feared the power of the Empress's passion. In a quiet corner, Daniel stared out a window, watching the rain. The world outside was wild and beautiful. He felt small, but he remembered Helena's words. "Sometimes when you feel small, that's when you're the bravest." Suddenly, he heard a soft cry. He followed the sound and found one of the younger Drakari, alone and shivering in fear. Her name was Lyra. She looked up at Daniel, embarrassed by her tears. "I'm sorry," Lyra said. "The storm makes me remember home. My family is far away." Daniel sat beside her. "I know how that feels. I miss someone too." Lyra wiped her eyes. "How do you stay strong?" Daniel thought about it. "I try to remember the good times. I write messages even if I don't know if she answers. I keep hoping. And I talk to friends like now." Lyra smiled a little. "Thank you, Daniel." For a while, they just listened to the rain together. Daniel realized that everyone, even the strongest warriors, felt lonely sometimes. He was not the only one missing someone far away. Later, as the storm grew fiercer, the Empress called all the contestants to the main hall. Her eyes were bright like fire. "Tonight you must face the storm within. Share your fears. Share your hopes." One by one, the warriors spoke. Some admitted to being afraid of failure. Others talked about missing their families. When it was Daniel's turn, his heart beat fast. "I miss my friend Helena," he said quietly. "She left a long time ago, and sometimes I feel like she's gone forever. I keep sending her messages, hoping she'll answer. But even when she doesn't, I try to remember that hope is a kind of strength. I want to believe that our friendship can survive, even across the stars." The hall was silent. The Empress nodded. True passion is not just fire, but the courage to hope even when it hurts. As the night went on, the storm outside began to fade. Daniel felt lighter, as if sharing his feelings had let some of the sadness go. He saw that others felt the same. Even the Empress seemed gentler, her eyes softer. After the gathering, Daniel went to a quiet balcony. The rain had stopped, and the stars were coming out. He took out his communicator and typed another message to Helena. "Hi, Helena. Tonight the biggest storm I've ever seen hit Drakkar Prime. I thought of you the whole time. I hope you're somewhere safe and dry. I keep hoping you'll write me back, but even if you can't, I want you to know I'm still here and I haven't given up. Missing you is hard, but hoping for you makes me strong. Daniel." He sent the message, watching the stars. He knew she might never see it, but he felt better for trying. As he stood there, Korath found him. "Daniel, you helped Lyra tonight, and you help us all by reminding us to hope. You are stronger than you think." Daniel smiled. "I just want to do what's right." Korath clapped him on the shoulder. "That's why you belong here." Daniel looked up at the sky, thinking of Helena. The distance between them still hurt, but he realized something important. Even if he never saw her again, her friendship had changed him. It had given him hope, and that hope was a fire that would never go out. The storm had passed, but Daniel's spirit burned brighter than ever. He was still the only human in the Empress's challenge, but he was not alone anymore. He had friends, and he had Hope Dot in the heart of the Drakari Empire. Daniel realized that sometimes surviving passion wasn't about being the strongest or the bravest. Sometimes it was about holding on to hope, even in the darkest storm. Asterisk, the days passed, and the atmosphere in the Drakari Palace changed. The Empress's mating season was coming to an end, and the final trial was near. Daniel felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had made it this far, but he still missed Helena deeply. Every day he checked his communicator, hoping to see a message from her, but there was still nothing. The distance between them felt like an endless void dot as the time for the final trial approached. Daniel gathered with the other contestants in the main hall. The Empress stood before them, her presence commanding. "Tomorrow, you will face your greatest challenge yet," she announced. "This trial will test your heart, your spirit, and your ability to connect with those you care about." Daniel's heart raced. Connect with those you care about? He thought. He felt a pang of sadness, remembering Helena. How could he connect with her when she was so far away? That night, Daniel sat alone in his room, staring at the stars outside his window. He thought about everything he had been through, the trials, the friendships he had made, and the pain of missing Helena. He wanted to tell her how much he had grown, how he had learned to stand strong even when he felt small. But he didn't know how to reach her. He picked up his communicator and typed another message, hoping this time it would be different. "Hi, Helena, tomorrow is the final trial. I wish you could be here to see how far I've come. I've faced so many challenges, and I've learned so much about hope and friendship. I miss you every day and wish I could share these moments with you. I hope you're doing well and thinking of me too. Daniel." He sent the message and lay down, staring at the ceiling. He felt a mix of sadness and hope. He wanted to believe that, somehow, Helena could feel his thoughts across the distance. Next day, Daniel joined the other contestants for the final trial. The Empress stood before them, her eyes shining with intensity. "Today, you will confront your fears and show your true selves. Only those who can connect will succeed." The trial began, and the contestants faced a series of challenges designed to bring out their deepest emotions. They had to walk through a dark tunnel, facing illusions of their worst fears. Daniel felt his heart race as he entered the tunnel. He remembered times he had felt alone, times when he doubted himself. The darkness closed in, and he felt an overwhelming sense of sadness. But then he thought of Helena's smile, her laughter, and how she always believed in him. "I can't give up," he whispered to himself. "I have to keep trying." As he moved through the tunnel, Daniel found strength in his memories. He remembered the times they spent together, the dreams they shared. He felt her presence with him, guiding him through the darkness. He emerged from the tunnel, panting but determined. Next, they faced a challenge that required them to work together. They were given a massive puzzle that needed to be solved as a team. Daniel quickly found himself working alongside Koroth and a few other warriors. They struggled at first, but Daniel encouraged them to communicate openly. "Let's share our ideas," he said. "We can't do this alone." Slowly, they began to piece the puzzle together. Daniel felt a sense of camaraderie and connection. He realized that even though he missed Helena, he was building new friendships here. Together, they solved the puzzle, and the Empress watched with a proud smile. Finally, the last part of the trial was a test of heart. Each contestant had to stand before the Empress and speak from their hearts about what mattered most to them. Daniel felt nervous, but he stepped forward. "I've learned so much during this season," he began. "I came here feeling small and lost, but I found strength in hope and friendship. I miss my friend Helena more than I can say. She taught me to believe in myself, and I want her to know that I'm still trying, no matter how far apart we are. His voice shook with emotion, and he could see the other contestants listening intently. The Empress nodded, clearly moved by his words. "Hope is a powerful force," she said. "It can bridge even the widest distances. Daniel, you have shown great courage by sharing your heart." As the trial concluded, the contestants gathered for the final announcement. The Empress stood before them, her expression serious yet warm. "Each of you has shown incredible strength, but one of you has embraced hope and connection more than the rest. Daniel, you have proven that even in the face of loneliness, humanity can shine bright. You are the winner of this season's trials." Daniel's heart soared. He couldn't believe it. He felt a mix of joy and disbelief. The other contestants cheered, and Koreth clapped him on the back. Later that night, Daniel stood alone on the balcony, looking up at the stars. He felt proud of himself, but he still missed Helena deeply. He pulled out his communicator one last time, typing a final message.